Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where or when you're listening to this. I'm Owen Hillman alongside my great co-host, Grant Hillman. Grant, how has your week been so far?
It's been pretty good, honestly. Been a little busy, just trying to adjust and stuff back to normal life, but we're here and we're adjusting.
Has the storm gotten to you at all?
Uh, no, I went back home, back to our parents, I guess. Just figured, just in case things got pretty bad down here in Athens, and they did not. But there was not a single centimeter of ice in Marietta, which was definitely nice. It was honestly quite nice outside in general. I went out to dinner with, the family, went shopping, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, that does feel nice down in Atlanta. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, it feels like things are going completely hectic down there, and the Steelers are becoming more mid as well. We're going to discuss that along with how the Bills shat their pants and changed their shirt, the conference championships, Senior Bowl weekend, and the FUBU Hall of Fame. That's what I'm calling it now because of what just happened with that. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Starting off with the Atlanta Falcons. They hired Ian Cunningham as their general manager. He was the assistant GM for the Chicago Bears, and now he gets to Atlanta for free. Usually, you have compensatory draft picks along with this. But Grant, what would you grade this hire in Ian Cunningham?
Man, especially with the fact that we don't have to give up any compensation picks, I'm going A plus. I can't lie. I mean, it's very rare that you get a GM that is only on the market because he got the boot or didn't get the boot, I guess, in this sense. So for us to find a guy who hasn't been fired, like that's pretty awesome. That's really awesome. And I could go very, very much into this, but I'll wait for us to get there.
Yeah, I'm very satisfied with this hire. Probably wouldn't give it an A plus, maybe just like an A minus. I think there's some
Yeah.
moves that he made with Chicago that could be a little better. TJ Edwards is a big example of that, and they haven't really gotten pass rush besides Sweat. But I'm really a big fan of this hire, especially when you look at the trades that he's made. And that gets into you. What excites you the most about this hire in particular?
So I look into one specific thing about Ian Cunningham that I think is the most applicable is the fact that when we look at what happened in Chicago when they drafted Justin Fields with a first round pick, it's very hard for a team to move on from a first round quarterback. We see that happening right now with Minnesota, honestly. Or you see that
Right.
happening with Indianapolis. You get into these kind of like quarterback ping pong games where you're stuck. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place a lot of the time. Either you've got to give up on your first round quarterback or you've got to stick with him. And if you give up on him, you have to find a guy who is good enough to not get you fired as a general manager. That's the main thing. So for him to take Justin Fields, who was a bust, we can all admit that now, and somehow smooth out the transition to Caleb Williams so effectively by that Bryce Young trade, I think is the biggest thing to look back at. The Chicago Bears had the first overall pick. I want to say, was it 2020?
It was
2020,
2023.
2023. Wow.
Yeah, still recent,
Wow.
right?
So yeah, wow. I forgot we're in 2026. My bad. Yeah, Bryce Young, yeah, they just now got his fifth year option. Anyways, 2023, they had the first overall pick and they decided to trade down to Carolina and they got so much capital out of that. That is such a slept on trade because the shoes that Bryce Young has to fill in order to be what Chicago got out of that, dude, I'm sorry, there's no way. They're really, especially at this point in Young's career, but that transition, that trade, and also the fact that Chicago was able to turn things around so efficiently, that roster is really good considering where they've been in the last few years. And I understand that there's holes in Chicago. Also, I understand that Ian Cunningham's not the main guy making these decisions, but there's holes in the
Right.
roster. But rebuilds are they don't happen overnight. They take time to develop. And right now, the Chicago Bears do not have that many weaknesses. If they go sign one or two big free agency names, they could 100% be in Super Bowl talks next season. So to me, that's got to be the most exciting thing about Ian Cunningham.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the way that he's revitalized the offense, I hear some people that are not as optimistic about the Cunningham hire just because the Bears, they didn't really hit in their pass rush additions and their cornerback additions. But Gordon is really promising. Kevin Byard was a Pro Bowler, even though you could argue is a little bit overrated. And Deshaun Ryan
Right.
had 7 picks. They
Yeah.
were insane in terms of committing
Yeah.
turnovers. Not to mention you
100%.
got
Again,
Dennis Allen as DC too.
it's a process too. It doesn't happen
You got Ben
overnight.
Johnson.
Yeah, you got to grade this team as it is. This is a new team with a new system, 100% new system, with a quarterback who's young, who it's not very good to be switching systems around with your young guy. And they almost made they were one play away from making the NFC Championship. And who knows? Could have been the Super Bowl after that. We have no idea. But I don't know. I mean, you can't you can say there's holes in the team, but this is the first year of this team, the first year of this team. So it takes time.
Yeah, and it feels like the Falcons kind of already have a good roster in place, minus the
Right.
uncertainty at QB. You got Bijan, you got Drake London, you've got a
Yeah.
good offensive line if things
I was
go
gonna say Ian
well.
Cunningham too. Also, people don't talk about it enough, but he really beefed up that O line in Chicago.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Joe Tooney going on there, Darrell
Yeah.
Wright, just a great, well-built team for the Bears.
Definitely.
Meanwhile, their NFC North teams and the Vikings, they actually just fired Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah.
I saw.
I sent out the document to you, and then right afterward, that news
Yeah.
came out. I was like, oh man,
Yeah. I saw it this
gotta
morning
talk
when I was
about
eating
this.
breakfast.
Yeah, the NFL has been on one recently. It feels like.
Yeah. It's awesome to watch though.
Yeah, I feel like. How do you feel? I feel like this was definitely
Look,
justified.
the JJ McCarthy pick, you don't draft quarterbacks first round and mess up and keep your job. As an NFL
Yeah,
GM, you don't keep your job. You're gone. That and the quarterback room last year, look, yes, we can all talk about Sam Darnold, but Daniel Jones too. I thought that them signing Daniel Jones, honestly, was a really good decision because you had a guy who at the very, I mean, he's an NFL quarterback. We knew that going into the season. We didn't know he was, an MVP favorite halfway through the season, but we knew he was an NFL quarterback. We knew he could throw the ball. He could be a starter. He was maybe a backup. That's how I saw him. So I saw that it wasn't even a trade. They picked him for free agency, didn't they?
yeah. They picked Daniel Jones up in the middle of the offseason for free agency after he got cut
Yes.
by the Giants.
I loved that because you had another uh safety net that honestly could very well be starting over JJ McCarthy. And the fact that they almost made the playoffs at JJ McCarthy is saying something. So for them to turn around and the the three guys they keep in the quarterback room are without a doubt the three worst quarterbacks in the quarterback room. And I could have told you that last season. I mean, that with the JJ McCarthy pick, you are not keeping your job.
I never
No
want to
way.
see
I
Max
don't care.
Crosby play again.
And he wasn't, but I don't care if you're a drafting guru. It doesn't matter. You screwed your team up for 4 years, maybe 3 years. I don't know. The point is you screwed them up. This could be a team making the NFC Championship this season, but right now they're out of the playoffs, looking in with a huge question mark over their head.
I, to go along with your point, I actually don't. I don't think that getting rid of Darnold was the biggest mistake that the Vikings made. Don't get me wrong. Getting rid of Darnold was a huge mistake, and it's looking worse and worse by the day at this point. But with the money that Darnold would have commanded in the open
Yeah,
market, the Vikings wouldn't have been able to fix the issues in their team. And I
fair.
think that Quessie's way of going about fixing those issues did not work at all. You saw that Will
Yeah,
Fry's hurt with Minnesota. Ryan Kelly was not good with them. And then their defensive line actually was not that good last year. And then they go out and sign Jonathan Allen, who hasn't
right.
been good either. And the amount of times that Quessie has messed up on draft picks, for example,
Yeah,
JJ McCarthy and Jordan Addison too. He's been kind of all over the news recently, but the Vikings
yeah.
they just don't feel like a well built team under Quessie, minus
No.
even Sam Darnold bailing them out.
Yeah, and I do agree with you that I think the other angle to the whole Darnold situation was that there's not a guarantee that he would have wanted to stay in Minnesota, and I wouldn't blame him purely because you've always got a first round quarterback sitting right behind you. That's a lot of pressure that I would not want. When if you're Sam Darnold, you know you are a starting quarterback, and you've got to play with a first round quarterback right behind you, and you know the second you slip up, they're going to throw him in, even though Lord knows that Sam Darnold's a better quarterback. But you know what I mean? I don't know
Yeah.
if I'd want to be in a situation like that anyways, versus Seattle, where you've got job security for the next 3 years at least.
Yeah, watch look at the Vikings, look at the Falcons with Kirk Cousins. That
Right.
move drafting
Same
Michael Penix
situation.
completely messed them up. And now look at where that GM is at.
Same situation. Again, you do not mess up a first round quarterback. Oh man. And the Falcons is worse because we paid heavy for that quarterback. But yeah, you don't mess up a quarterback situation that bad and keep your job ever.
Part of me is like shocked at this move, that timing of this move, because it happened right before the Super Bowl, and it happened right before they, this guy can like figure out the contract situation. Apparently, they're not even hiring a GM until after the draft. So
Right. A whole
this
other thing is
longtime
now you've got
executive, his name is
drafting duties.
Rob Brzezinski. He's going to be the one manning the free agency and the draft. So a
Yeah.
general manager isn't even gonna have the draft there. So I think
Yeah, it's not
Minnesota's
good
interesting for
if you're
Minnesota.
Minnesota. It's looking like a very, very, very cloudy future for you. You went from being a team that was almost the one seed last year to having a quarterback crisis to having a perhaps a coach crisis, and you should not let Kevin O'Connell go.
No,
Having your defensive coordinator being shopped as a head coach, probably going to be gone next season. No GM, and you're not going to have a GM until after the draft. Like, not looking good.
yeah, I would definitely consider the Vikings as a surprise pick territory. I could see them easily going after somebody that nobody would have thought in the first round because of that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while the Vikings are in total chaos, the Steelers decided to stay super, super mid here. I think they might have made the most mid decision in the entire coaching cycle by hiring former Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy to be their head coach. He gets 5 years to get carried by talent, essentially. I don't know if he's going to get carried by Rodgers or another QB, but it's just I don't know. It's a very very interesting hire. What do you think about it?
Okay. I'm not surprised, first of all. However, I'm not 100% against the hire. It does matter that McCarthy is a Yinzer at heart and that he has a lot of Pittsburgh pride. I see it as the safe option, which we all know is an issue for Pittsburgh. They seem to choose that option any given moment without a doubt, 110% of the time. They will choose the quarterback in the draft who is the most bland, run-of-the-mill Kenny Pickett quarterback and draft him first round. That's just what they do. They'll draft Will Howard. They'll draft Kenny Pickett. They'll sign Mason Rudolph. They'll sign
Right.
Aaron Rodgers. That's just what they do. But I do think that it makes a difference that Mike McCarthy has Yinzer pride. So we will have to see. And I mean, I think, well, I mean, why not give the guy another chance, especially in a place like Pittsburgh? However, I don't know. If you're Pittsburgh, you kind of have to like let go of the last 25 years of your football team and move into a new era. And I don't know if Mike McCarthy is going to bring you that new era.
Yeah, this team has just been desperate. It feels like this team has kind of been desperate for a young coach to be able to motivate the potentially new quarterback in Pittsburgh. But now you get Mike McCarthy, who did win Green Bay Super Bowl and has led the Cowboys to 12-5 records for 3 straight years.
Right.
But again, the obvious issue is that he's not going to get you over the hump, similar to Mike Tomlin. And your defense is worse overall because of it, because McCarthy's more of an offensive guy too.
Yeah.
So I think the Steelers need to land on this quarterback. They need to have like an established quarterback already, like the Cowboys
Yeah.
did with Prescott in order for it to work.
Right.
What do you grade this hire?
C plus. It's
That's
fine.
probably what I give it to.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, look, you're getting a coach. Like the guy's not going to completely crap the bed. You're not going to be looking at an Aaron Glenn type season or a Raheem Morris. Not even. I mean, at least Raheem Morris won 8 games. Like, but you're
Right.
not looking at a complete implode with this guy. And if there is a complete implode, it's not going to be on him fully. So, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It'll get you to maybe win the division depending on if things in Baltimore spiral, which they won't. But I don't know. I mean, it's, yeah, that's fine. It's a hire. It's
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
And now that he reunites with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, do you see do you see Aaron Rodgers going through and signing another contract with the Steelers now that Mike McCarthy is the head coach, or do you see him potentially going elsewhere, retiring, and then going to getting a new QB?
Why not? I think Rodgers is still a serviceable quarterback, and I think he knows that. And he was leaving Pittsburgh because Tomlin was leaving Pittsburgh. However, I think this changes things a lot. But my thing with Aaron Rodgers is what does he get with staying? You know you're not going to win another Super Bowl with this team. You might like you're probably going to do the exact same thing you did this season, which is do pretty decent up until your playoff game where you get absolutely smothered. So, I mean, it's possible, and I could definitely see it happening. But the thing I think that would stop him is, like I said, the fact that you're not chasing anything with this season.
I just retire if I were Rodgers. Like
Yeah,
he looks still serviceable in the field, but like Rivers retired while looking serviceable.
right.
I just retire while on the top because you don't want to look ugly in the field. And
No, you don't want to be
again,
like Russell
Rodgers,
Wilson.
I'm not in Rodgers' head. The guy can continue to keep playing and continue to not see his family. And I totally get that for him because that's kind of his MO. But
Yeah.
I saw you wrote in a potentially new QB. Do you think the Steelers would go after? You had an interesting choice here. You mind explaining?
Uh, I said Kirk Cousins as Pittsburgh's next quarterback if they decide to move on. I just honestly have no idea who else they would get, to be honest with you. I think I mean, who else would they get? I think Kirk Cousins is like a 1 year, 2 year quarterback, an Aaron Rodgers-esque lateral move, but like you're not going to be able to draft a guy. You've got
Yeah,
Will Howard on the bench, but I'm not super high on Will Howard. I don't really think many people are that high on Will Howard, but even then, you might not want to start him yet. Kyler Murray is going to be expensive if he even leaves Arizona, which now there's a lot of talk of him not leaving Arizona. What? I mean, you're going to get Tua, Justin Fields again, Russell Wilson again, like Joe Flacco. It's
Willis.
Kirk Cousins like has at least a little bit left in the tank compared to these other guys.
I get that. I think it'd be the most Steelers thing possible if they drafted Ty Simpson in the first round as like my first pick. I can
Oh
easily see
God.
that happening. I I did a mock draft in the Senior Bowl with Tyler DeSena and the guys that I was with, and all of us were like, "Yeah, they're drafting Ty Simpson in the first round. It's
Dude.
gonna happen." I'm predicting that actually. I think the Steelers will draft Ty Simpson in the first round. It feels so Steelers to do, and
Yes.
pair him alongside Mike McCarthy. I mean, maybe it goes okay, maybe it doesn't, but it's gonna be so funny to think.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is a decent choice, though. Meanwhile, their rivals in the AFC North make a pretty surprising change for their head coach. They actually steal Todd Monken from the New York Giants. He was supposed to be the OC for John Harbaugh, but now he's going to be the head coach for the Browns to develop whoever the hell the starting quarterback is for Shador Sanders. How do you think this hire works out for Cleveland?
Man, I can't lie. That was good. I'm proud of Cleveland.
I
I can't
agree.
lie. That came out of nowhere to me. You got nobody wanted to touch that organization. But the fact that they could get Todd Monken as a head coach, I mean, it doesn't really get much better given their situation. That might be one of the best moves of any team. Not saying that Todd Monken's going to be the best head coach, but to say working with the scenario you got and the situation you got, that is huge. That team, they were so screwed. Nobody was even interviewing with them. And then they have this whole like PR issue with how they've been handling these interviews with it being like essays and homework apparently. And then of course they've got that rule where they have to hire or they have to interview at least one minority, which look, I mean, the fact that Cleveland's in a situation where there has to be a rule is saying something about that ownership. Like
Things rule, but
that's all I'm
everything,
gonna say.
yeah,
There's a reason why they need that rule. And so you had a point where there was a possibility that there would not be a minority to even interview for Cleveland. That's how bad the situation is in Cleveland right now.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's a crappy organization led by some crappy people, clearly. Um, I mean, they even had to worry about that rule. It's just ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
it
apparently
just
Jimmy
kind of shows,
Haslam. Apparently
it really
Jimmy
shows
Haslam
the
went over
character
Mike
of,
Rivera's head.
yeah, it shows the character. Like, but, at least they have it now. At least they're working, against, but anyways, the point is with Cleveland, I don't know. Nobody wants to touch that organization. They have a bad history. They've got smelly ownership. They've got just everything's a complete train wreck with them. And the fact that they were able to pull out a head coach that was actually looked at as what's the word I'm looking for here? Um,
Respectable,
yeah,
honorable.
respectable. Yeah, honorable. Yeah, just a guy that was coveted in some capacity is big.
Yeah, it was so surprising to me. I totally thought that Nate Shieldhouse was the guy for the Browns, and he's the Rams passing game coordinator. I thought for sure it'd be him, but I'm glad that they got Monken because he has actual play calling experience with
Yeah.
the Ravens, and you could argue that the Ravens' success on offense, at least, is solely from him. So I do like this move in Cleveland. I
Yeah.
find it so funny what Emmanuel Acho said about the incident. He was just like, if I'm Shador, why am I talking to Todd Monken? What does he have to say to me?
Yeah.
Everybody on X was rightfully clowning on Emmanuel Acho, just the Emmanuel Acho L on there. I haven't even
That's
gone to my winners and losers yet, but that might be a spoiler for you there.
that's good.
But on the John Harbaugh front, does this make the John Harbaugh Giants look a lot worse?
Uh, I don't want to say a lot worse, but if I'm New York, your options are slimming down right now.
At OC
And
for sure.
yes, because there's been a lot, we'll get into some other names, but there's been a lot of things changing around the league, and you've kind of just been letting some guys go that should not have gone, like Todd Monken or Mike McDaniel, or even possibly Joe Brady, even though he probably would have stayed at Buffalo as an OC if he, you know, wanted to stay as an OC. But my point is, it's definitely possible. They need to have some more, what's the word? Initiative. They need to have more initiative. New York does, because that team is a little bit in shambles, even though they've got a lot of young talent and they've got a good new head coach. I don't know. You still got to try and bring in an OC, a good name.
Yeah, I think at this point it's probably either Cliff or bust for the Giants. I think Cliff Kingsbury needs to be the Giants offensive coordinator immediately
Yeah,
because
definitely. That's the last one I'd say. If you miss out on Kingsbury, then you got some issues.
I could see the Ravens hiring Greg Roman as well. Just he was a
Hmm.
former Chargers coordinator, worked under Harbaugh in the early Lamar years too, and
Hmm.
Jackson Dart loves running the ball too.
Yeah.
So I could see either one of those names, but I'd much rather go for Cliff Kingsbury at that
Yeah,
point.
definitely. Definitely.
Speaking about the Buffalo Bills, they just decided to promote Joe Brady to head coaching duties. Bobby Bat will become the Packers DC. Do you think that there's any sort of positive impact of this hire for the Bills?
The positive is that you didn't lose Joe Brady. That's really about it.
Yeah, I'm a little ambivalent on this hire, honestly. You take it or leave it. Bills just their issues were never even in offense or defense anyway. It's based on the roster. It's not based on coaching.
Right. Right.
But at least they don't
Yeah.
lose Joe Brady to another
And
team.
you got players talk like locker room talk. You've got guys on Twitter on the team, or I guess X, sorry. But now they're talking about how they really like Sean McDermott. They didn't want him to be fired. We had Josh Allen say that he felt he had a large role in his firing and said Josh Allen said if he had a better game, that they'd probably still be playing football right now with Sean McDermott as their head coach. And the other thing we figured out is that Josh Allen was playing through a broken foot. So now all of a sudden, you take a step back, you give it a couple of weeks, your head coach is fired because your starting quarterback had a bad game because his foot was broken. Whoa, this changes things quite a bit. This is why I don't just fire guys. There's
Yeah, you had to start more right
repercussions
with
to
this
this.
hire.
So yeah,
Sorry. Um, I yeah, you had to start off. I think you had to start off with just getting somebody in the organization because that would probably make Josh Allen unhappy. If some other head coach like maybe Mike McDaniel was going to be
yeah,
man in the helm, and Joe Brady's probably your best bet for the Bills,
definitely.
but I'm still a
Yeah.
little indifferent about it. This defensive coordinator hire is going to be very interesting. I
Yes.
think it's going to be very, very interesting. Who do you think is going to be the guy in Buffalo?
I've got two Jimmies I want to take a look at. Two Jims. I've got Jim Leonhard and Jim Schwartz. Jimmy Schwartz. Leonhard is he's the pass defense coordinator, if that makes sense. He runs pass defense in Denver right now, which, as everyone knows, is probably the best pass defense in the league. I think that could really help with Buffalo's secondary problems. a lot. So I would say I'd keep an eye out for his name. He's already been talked about quite a bit. I think he's already the favorite. And then Jim Schwartz coming out of Cleveland, who had a very, very dramatic exit of Cleveland. I'm not sure if you saw Owen, but
Oh yeah.
he apparently had some words to say to Cleveland after they didn't make him the head coach and said that he is never going to be joining the Cleveland Browns organization ever again. So that
Wow.
guy's got a head full of steam, and he'd be a fantastic name for Buffalo. I think that changes this whole situation a lot because you go from having Sean McDermott, who a defense mind who really didn't do enough for the defense, I will say. Like you said, Owen, you said this last episode. Sean McDermott was not perfect, but all of a sudden you keep your offensive coordinator, and now you've got a really good defensive coordinator, a very big name in the market. So I'd keep an eye out on Schwartz.
Yeah, Schwartz led Myles Garrett to a potential defensive player of the year selection and 30 sacks overall. So I'd say he's pretty good. Cleveland's
Yeah, the
going to miss
sack
him for
rate.
sure. But I just find it interesting that Schwartz is even available in the market and that Cleveland considering him as head coach too, which is very funny. Um,
Yeah.
but the last two coaching openings are the Cardinals and the Raiders. It seems like these are the probably the worst two situations out of the whole board. But who do you think decides first to hire the coach, and who do you think makes the better decision?
Okay, to me, Vegas has the most promise of the two
Agreed.
because in Vegas you get to draft your quarterback, and I'm saying in air quotes because everybody knows who you're getting. And you get some young pieces. They're like a poverty New York Giants, which is really funny to say considering how bad the Giants are. But they're like a worse New York Giants right now. They've got some promise and in young players, and you've got a good pick. So, there is some promise to that. However, that doesn't mean I think the Raiders are going to be good. But with Arizona, you don't have much. I think Arizona could really still swing things around if they tried. But you're looking at like by swing things around, I mean maybe sneak into a playoffs wild card spot in 3 years from now with Kyler Murray. But at this point, you've got an expensive quarterback who's underperforming and always injured, and whose backup has kind of been doing better in a way. And that's it. Your running back is damn near dead at this point with how injured he is. And you've got Marvin Harrison Jr., who's been extremely underperforming, although he still is showing flashes. And you've got maybe the best tight end in the league, at least this season. But other than that, man, it's kind of barren. It's kind of a desert over in Arizona, no pun intended. So I don't know. I think that the Raiders hold a few more chips than Arizona. And at this point, I don't even know what decision either of them would make, and I don't even know which one would be better because they're both kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
It looks like the Raiders are considering Davis Webb, and I think he might be the favorite. Meanwhile, the Cardinals, I'm not sure what they're doing in their vacancy right now. And yeah, I do agree with you. The Raiders are absolutely the better spot because you already have Mendoza and you also have $100 million in cap space to work with.
Yes,
And
Genty,
this is going to
Bowers,
be a big
possibly
offseason for
Crosby.
John Spytek.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see what the Raiders do, and I'm interested to see how the Cardinals will mess this one up. We have a couple other coordinator positions to go over. Brian Dable goes to Tennessee to be their offensive coordinator. Never thought I would say that he'd be the most preferred destination. He would have his preferred destination be Tennessee. McDaniel is now off to Los Angeles, where he absolutely belongs. The Broncos part ways with Peyton's right-hand man, Joe Lombardi, and the Green Bay Packers get Jonathan Gannon as their new defensive coordinator. Any one of these moves you'd like to talk about specifically?
Well, I think the Daboll one is big. I like
For
it.
sure.
I think that people don't talk about how much experience Daboll has with quarterback development. And honestly, I didn't really like the Dable firing last season. I think you should have given him the rest of the season. I think there's a chance that that team has a few more wins than they did.
Agreed.
So he had a hand, I think it was Josh Allen, developing Josh Allen. He had a hand in developing Jackson Dart, as we know. And I'd love to see what he can do with I mean, he's a good offensive coordinator on top of that, but I'd love to see what he can do with Cam Ward. I love that. I'm actually excited for Tennessee. You've got a defensive mastermind as your head coach, and you've got a dude who could 100% be a head coach as an offensive coordinator. Dude, that Tennessee team could really shake things up. I love it. Mike McDaniel in Los Angeles. Also love it. Again, great guy who I still am kind of on the fence with his firing, or at least him not being hired as a head coach in this roundabout really weird offseason we've had with coaches.
Yeah,
So yeah, I
let
mean
him
that's
not
the
get him
two things I
fired.
really want to touch on. Touch
Uh,
on.
McCarthy, yeah, Mike McDaniel is a very good move for Los Angeles. It's a bit of a strange fit to me with Justin Herbert as your quarterback, but I think that the run game for Los Angeles is going to be much improved. I think Marion Hampton is going to be due for a big season next year.
Yes.
And the Chargers, they better get some offensive line help. That's all I'll say for that.
Oh
I
yeah.
also like the Brian Dable hire to Tennessee a lot. That's going to be a very interesting scenario to happen in Tennessee, especially with how the AFC South tends to just they tend to just have a new winner every single year. So you
Yeah.
never know who's going to win the division, and it could be Tennessee this next year if they play their cards right.
Agreed with you.
But going on to coaches, very well revered coaches, Bill Belichick, somehow, some way, 11 voters did not vote Bill Belichick into the Hall of Fame, and that was enough for him not to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, dude. I can't believe I'm saying this in 2026, but Bill Belichick is not going to be a Hall of Famer. What,
Yeah.
what was your
I don't know.
initial reaction?
I have no idea. I'm in absolute disbelief, and I think everybody is. It completely shook up the sports world. Everybody's doesn't understand it, can't believe it. It's crazy. Yeah, that might be the worst Hall of Fame snub of all. I mean, Bill Belichick is the Tom Brady of head coaches. Whether or not you like it, he is.
He's the greatest. He's the
He
greatest head
is.
coach.
It doesn't matter if he was actively trying to get the Patriots to lose. They won seven, six,
They won 777 games, and they won six Super Bowls with Bill
six
Belichick.
Super Bowls. That's what it is. They won six Super Bowls. You can't do that on accident. I don't care who you have as your starting quarterback. In also the salary cap era, I mean it'd be a totally different story if it were like the 60s or the 70s or the 80s or the 90s even where you could just pay billions of dollars and it doesn't matter. You could, pull a Jerry Jones. But this dude, he did it in a salary cap era
Yeah,
and created the best team we've ever seen in the NFL's history. Might be the best, what's the word I'm looking for here? Best dynasty. Might be the best dynasty in all of sports. Mine, like barring, you know, Celtics or Lakers, whatever in the 70s. I mean, I'm in disbelief. I'm
yeah.
genuinely
I
in
guess
disbelief.
some 80-year-old person might argue with you about the Montreal Canadiens from
Right.
Canada. You can just turn off the computer at that case. Belichick is
Right.
the
Before
greatest
World War One,
dynasty
for sure.
in the
Yeah.
U.S. Is the greatest, most impressive dynasty in all of sports. Patriots,
Yeah.
like they dominated in the salary cap, and they did it. He was the GM too. That's the thing. Belichick was the
Yeah.
GM and the coach of the team.
Dude.
He somehow drafted these picks, someone developed them, and he led them to six Super Bowls with these
It,
players.
he
Millions,
won six
millions of
Super
people.
Bowls.
Yeah. And dozens and dozens of players will go out talking about how good Belichick is. Even UNC players. I just
Yeah.
talked to Thaddeus Dixon at the I just talked to Thaddeus Dixon at the Senior Bowl, and he was so proud of his work with under Bill Belichick. Even his disastrous tenure at UNC has garnered praise. I think that Bill Belichick, this is the greatest. This is might be the greatest snub in the history of snubs. And to
Yeah.
say something with
In
literally
all
every
of sports.
reputable source is slandering the voters who did not elect Bill
It's
Belichick.
like if Bo Nix won MVP this season over Drake May and Matthew Stafford. Like, it's
Right.
crazy.
It's like if the 2013 Seahawks did not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
It was not
It doesn't make any sense.
it
Yeah.
is complete BS. I it sucks because like it distracts from a very good Hall of Fame class over here. I put
Yes.
in about 12-ish names on here. These are all the finalists for the Hall of Fame. Um, these are all really good players, but I saw. What do you think? What do you think of this class? Who do you think are your Hall of Famers here?
Man, love this class, by the way. This is a very nostalgic class to me. Starting off with Drew Brees. I mean, it's as a Falcons fan, I can't say that I liked watching him, but I loved watching Drew Brees. He's a fantastic player. He's a great guy on and off the field. Loved it. I mean, awesome quarterback. It's very rare for me to like a Saints quarterback, but I do really like Drew Brees. Mainly because he wasn't drafted by the Saints. But just kidding. Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, really happy to see that name up there. I want him to be in the Hall of Fame. Frank Gore. Man, I was just watching a recap of was it the 2012 Super Bowl? It was Ravens Niners, Kaepernick and
Yeah.
Flacco.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, was it I feel like people don't talk about this enough. It's Jacoby Jones. Was that the receiver on Baltimore, right?
Yeah, Jacoby Jones was the receiver who field goal
Dude
for
should have
like a minute and
been
a half.
the Super Bowl MVP. Like, what a game. Dude had a really long touchdown, which was super impressive. He like fell on the ground, got up and juked out like three defenders, and then also took a kickoff return to the house. But whatever. I'm getting off topic. But again, Torrey Holt, Frank Gore, Luke Kuechly, Terrell Suggs, who was a seven-time Pro Bowler, three-time All-Pro, I think, and Defensive Player of the Year. Leads he leads he's first in all-time tackles for losses. He's fourth
Wow,
all-time in
I
postseason
didn't know that.
sacks. He's eighth on all-time sacks. Like this dude is absolute beast. Won multiple Super Bowls with multiple teams. Yeah, loved this class. Adam Vinatieri, Reggie Wayne, Jason Witten. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you. There's going to be so many, there should be so many Hall of Famers here, but I just know that the Hall of Fame is going to fuck up by not naming half of these players to the Hall of Fame. I
yeah.
unfortunately think that Terrell Suggs might be one of those players. I don't know why, I just have a feeling. He won a Super
I
Bowl
hate
with the Ravens, and he's literally the leader in tackles for loss. But I don't know. In Kuechly too. I don't know if Kuechly I don't know if Kuechly's going to be first ballot Hall of Famer simply because of his longevity. He only played
fair.
about 8 years. But again, Willis made the Hall of Fame through 7 years of play. So I don't understand why Luke Kuechly would at any point be snubbed. But yeah, all these other guys I think are no doubt Hall of Famers
I do
and
have one question for you.
generational. What up?
Do you think Eli Manning should be in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely not. I don't think he. I think he's going to be voted in eventually, but I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
He might not even be the best quarterback in Giants history. He was not even really a top 10 quarterback for much of his time in the NFL, or maybe he was a top 10 quarterback. Rarely a top
No, he
five
wasn't.
quarterback in the regular season.
I
Yeah,
don't even think
I
in the
don't think.
regular season. Like he was always near the top, and I don't think near the top, but he was like he. The only time he ever led in a stat was in interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Bo Nix. Actually, Bo Nix, if anything, has actually been a little bit better in the regular season this season than Eli Manning usually is. Eli Manning is one of the most overrated football players of all time. Not to take away from his accolades in the postseason, but I'm really happy if he doesn't make the Hall of Fame. I don't think he should make the Hall of Fame, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's just like it's a wolf in sheep's clothing compared to all the rest of these players. Even the guys
Yes.
we didn't name, like Jahri Evans or Kevin
Right.
Williams, Darren Woodson, Marshall Yonda. These guys were legends. Willie Anderson, like
Yeah.
these guys were legends
Yeah.
and very good players too. On top of that, but this is a very stacked Hall of Fame class, and I'm excited to see at least six of these guys get into the Hall of Fame and get recognized for all their work on. Uh, I believe it's this upcoming Saturday. It's the awards show. Speaking of which, the awards finalist list has also come out. I said coming out of the documentary. It has come out, but uh, if you put a, I asked you to put a G or an O as to who you give the award. Who is your MVP, right?
Starting off with MVP, look, there's no doubt in my mind it's Matthew Stafford. This is a regular season award. Matthew Stafford has 10 more touchdowns than Drake May, at least passing touchdowns. You can't be the MVP if you're not even the best in your position. Matthew Stafford's the best quarterback in the league. Not even argue with the wall, man. If you don't believe that, I'm arguing with the wall. Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback in the league statistically over Drake May. What Drake May is doing is super impressive. But Matthew Stafford has also been playing against, dude had to play the Niners and the Seahawks twice respectively this season. I mean, come on. Matthew Stafford's the best quarterback in the league.
Well, 3 times he kept the Seattle NFC Championship. So
Yeah,
I think that
true.
just goes.
Yeah.
I know playoffs aren't really involved in the MVP discussion, but I think that Matthew Stafford's playoff, and we'll get into it, but his playoff stats in that game, it
They're
really shows
better.
that he's a better quarterback than Drake May
Yeah,
this
without a
year.
doubt.
And Stafford absolutely win MVP. What are your DPOY?
I mean, there's only one answer to this, and it's Myles
Yeah,
Garrett. Best season we've seen of a pass rusher, maybe of all time. Actually, yeah, of all time. And people are always complaining about the whole 17 game, 18 game season, whatever. Myles Garrett did it in less snaps than Strahan. So just throw that out the window. Garrett was on the field less and did more.
absolutely. And the fact that the Browns went 5-12 with Myles Garrett had one of the legendary seasons in defensive
Yeah,
player history. Myles Garrett should absolutely win Defensive Player of the Year. I just wanted to point out how the Browns are the Browns again.
yeah.
In terms of OPOY, who do you have for that?
See, this one was really hard because I genuinely could not choose between about four of these guys. Part of me wants to give it to Drake May for what I mean, he deserves an award for what he's done this season. And then part of me wants to say Christian McCaffrey, who's been an absolute stud the entire season through the fact that he's coming back from injuries all the time. I wouldn't consider Puka just because I think JSN has had a better season in almost every way, even if it's not by much. But also, Bijan Robinson has the most all-purpose scrimmage yards in the NFL. He's been so versatile, so electric on a team that's just been so quiet all season. And the Falcons fan in me wants to say Bijan Robinson, but I know it's not going to be Bijan. I think it should be JSN.
I
That's all
agree.
I can
I feel
say.
like it's going to be Jason too. I would.
Yeah.
I second on my list would be Bijan, just
Yeah.
because this was a legendary season for Bijan. I mean, if you get to over 2,000 yards, he led the league in yards per scrimmage. That's got to count for something. Although
Yeah.
most of the people on this list are running backs. I think that JSN though, like he has evolved into he has evolved to the point where Seattle has become a good offense due to him. The
Yeah.
Falcons
He could
were
be a
just an
comeback player.
okay offense with Bijan producing this stat line. Jackson Smith the
Yeah.
Jigba has made the Seattle offense into what it is
Yes.
for the
Overnight.
most part. But as for offensive rookie of the year, this one is interesting. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Man. Uh, this is also hard. I had to say McMillan, but part of me honestly wanted to go with Travion Henderson, which might be crazy, but I don't know. I like the season he had this year. He's been awfully consistent, but I mean McMillan's been just lights out. So yeah, I'd go McMillan.
Yeah, I agree. I'd probably go McMillan too. Led all rookies in receiving yards this past year, and it felt like McMillan was unstoppable at times when you would throw him the ball. It's just too bad he has Bryce Young as his quarterback, but I think that McMillan is good. I think I'd give Emeka Buka a bit of a I'd give Emeka Buka a bit of a shout out too, just because he was neck and neck with McMillan for most of the time. If you
Yeah.
took his first 8 weeks of the season, then I would have given it to Emeka Buka in a heartbeat. He might be offensive player of the year if you look at that, but just a shame that him and the whole Tampa Bay, well, not really a shame, but him and the Tampa Bay offense just completely screeched to a grinding halt. As for your defensive rookie of the year, what do you got here, Grant?
This one's another hard one. It's honestly makes me really happy as a Falcons fan to read this list and see two Falcons. Awesome. In case you guys aren't aware, it's Xavier Watts and James Pierce Jr. Xavier Watts was second in the league in interceptions, led all rookies in interceptions, had a phenomenal year. Phenomenal year. And again, if you are looking back at last season and regretting this trade we had with the Rams, just remember that Xavier Watts and JPJ are two of the best defensive players in the league, without a doubt. I mean, Schlesinger has had a phenomenal year, and Emin Warrior's been an absolute just problem, an absolute problem on defense. Abdul Carter's been fantastic too, but to me, maybe I'm a little biased, but James Pierce Jr. has had such a good season. Such a good season. We're looking at the next Myles Garrett, the next Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons, yeah, sorry. This guy's phenomenal. So good. It's just beautiful to watch. And the fact that he was able to do it, especially on the second half of the season where he kind of started out a little bit slow, but once he got into gear, he got into gear. Man, if we had that JPJ throughout the entire season, which is what makes this so scary because we will have that next season. But if JPJ was playing like that all season, he would have been up there with Myles Garrett, man. He'd been crazy.
Yeah, he would have been nuts. James Pierce Jr. is also my choice. Swepston deserves a mention as well, though, just because he was absolutely nuts. He was fifth in tackles in the league as a rookie. Also had 11 tackles for loss as well, seemingly unstoppable in the run defense. I don't know how good he's going to be with Jim Schwartz leaving the building, but Swessinger, I would not be surprised if he wins it.
Yeah, no.
Now on to comeback player of the year, and this might be based on a different philosophy here, but I'll say mine first is Aiden Hutchinson for me. I think that I think that a comeback player of the year is a little bit misconstrued, in my opinion,
Mhm.
because I think that it should be based on a player who suffered a major injury, not a player who has just gone back from who has been like just broke out of nowhere, like
Right,
similar to how I'm trying to remember his name. I was to say how Sam Darnold was like
right.
in contention for it last year. He had
Yeah,
a great
or Daniel
season, no
Jones.
doubt, but did he come back from anything outside of the waiver wire? I don't think that. I think it's kind of a little bit misconstrued with this one. I actually picked Christian McCaffrey, not Aiden Hutchinson. Sorry, Christian McCaffrey is my choice.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the most realistic option, and it would definitely be my number two, if not my number one. But this might be a hot take, but I've got Stephon Diggs. I am really proud of how good of a job Stephon Diggs has done this year. The fact that he's able to lead that receiver room, be the veteran guy that they need him to be the veteran guy that Drake May needs him to be, take them to the Super Bowl. It's something that is not really being talked about enough. And it's been, I think the guy's had some issues, obviously, with PR stuff. He's had that, court case, which,
Yeah, sorry,
I,
I
yeah,
cannot
not
stand
good.
Diggs.
Not good. But if we're looking strictly on the field stuff and locker room stuff, Stephon Diggs has really done a good job of staying out of the how do I put it? Staying out of the news in the sense that he was in Buffalo. In Buffalo, there was always this talk of him being a diva, of him, needing the ball, all this stuff. There's always just so much drama around his name. And similar things could be said in Houston, although his time in Houston was so short and injury filled. But he comes to New England and we're no longer hearing all this buzz with him in the locker room. He stays, relatively quiet within this. Is being the veteran receiver that his quarterback needs and that his receiving room needs. And now they're looking at a possible Super Bowl ring. And the guy was washed a few years ago. So it's a good story to me.
I don't know. I cannot support just because like morally, like I don't think he's a good I don't think he's a great person,
No,
and
me neither.
I don't want to see him win a Super Bowl, but he'd be
Fair.
pretty close to that. We're gonna get to that a little bit, but Coach of the Year, who is your pick as Coach of the Year?
Man, there's only one answer to this. Kyle Shanahan. I know
Agreed.
actually, I know there's a lot of names on here you could throw on there. Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Mike Vrabel. All of these guys actually are like really, really, really. They would have been coach of the year any other season, but Kyle Shanahan actually put together a Moneyball roster. It's insane. We made almost made the NFC Championship. Well, I shouldn't say almost. Won a playoff game with waiver wire team.
Yeah, the Niners are 12-5, the same as the Jaguars, the Bears, and almost New England too.
Yeah,
I'm 100% in agreement with you, and I understand this argument about like you don't want to pick people usually pick the trendy head coach
right,
as the coach of the year versus the best head coach, which the best
right.
head coach for me is McDonald on this list just because he's led the Seattle Seahawks to a Super Bowl at this point. But
Yeah,
Kyle Shanahan, like Fred Warner was out. George Kittle was out most of the season. Brock Purdy was out a lot of the season. Christian McCaffrey took a while to come
yep.
back. There were so many injuries in
Brandon
Michael
Ayuk.
Williams, Nick Bosa. There were so many injuries in the San Francisco team,
Yeah,
and yet they somehow make it close with Seattle. They were only one game away from from hosting the entirety of the NFC.
Yeah,
And I think that is so impressive, and that deserves an award for Kyle Shanahan.
definitely.
But the awards going on, I think it's time that I get into my segment about the Senior Bowl. This is Engage 8. I'm going to talk about 8 prospects that I really enjoyed at the Senior Bowl, starting with number 1, defensive tackle Lee Hunter. I think that this guy is a big name to look at for the Falcons. Big is an understatement for him. He is a massive dude. I almost got the chance to interview him, but the Texas Tech defensive tackle showed some great moves in the pass rush, and he's almost unstoppable against the run. This guy is going to be a great nose tackle, and I would definitely like to see him at 45. The next name is going to be Nadeem Tucker from Western Michigan. Was MAC Defensive Player of the Year and had about as many sacks as David Bailey, who led the entirety of FBS in sacks this year. He had 14.5 sacks, Tucker, and he just showed that he has very refined technique, and he stood out to me a lot. Third is going to be Tyron Montgomery. He was a John Carroll wide receiver, made some great catches. With Georgia State wide receiver Ted Hurst, who's number 4. Number 5 is going to be Bud Clark, the safety out of TCU. He was basically a dynamo the whole Senior Bowl. I mean, if you think about how Billy Bowman did last year, that was how Bud Clark did this year, and he has great ball skills, great recognition. He's going to be a very good addition to whichever team that he's on. 6 is going to be Mike Washington from Arkansas, very good running back, very good at being able to catch passes in the backfield. And number 7 is going to be Kalen Black as well from Indiana. I think that this guy might be the most underrated draft prospect in the entire nation, just because of how solid he is, but how little recognition he gets for how good since Indiana has one of the best run game coordinations in the league. Number 8, I'm still not sold on number 8, but I think it's going to be offensive lineman Jalen Farmer from Kentucky. After that, let's head on to the NFL Conference Championships. These brought us 2 close games, one much more entertaining versus the other one. We'll start with the boring one in the AFC Championship. This game was a huge snooze fest. The Patriots win again with an ugly showing, defeating the Denver Broncos 10-7. The Broncos defense seemingly tried to hand the offense victory, but Jared Stidham proved that he was a 6th-round pick, and he could not throw to the side of a barn. Grant, do you think that the Broncos win this game with Bo Nix in the game?
Yeah, I honestly think they do. I do think that the weather has a lot to do with it. Maybe on a clear night, it'd be a different story. And I don't think people are talking about the disadvantage that the Patriots had with wearing the all-white uniforms they were wearing. It really does make a big difference with the weather they had. It wasn't just the snow, but the fact that there was almost no clarity on the field. But football is not a thing about writing excuses. The same thing applies here with Bo Nix. But yeah, I mean, Stidham really looked good in that scoring drive they had. But I think you can chalk it down to Stidham, and I also think you can chalk it down to them not choosing to kick that field goal in the red zone. Look, there's something that Pittsburgh does well in these close games is Pittsburgh always takes advantage of 3 points so often. Every
Yeah.
single time they're, in the Houston game where they know they're going to be in the total just absolute stinker of a game. It's going to be a 13-6 game. They're taking a field goal every time. And as a coach, you should know to do that in these instances because the reality is if you get that 4th and 1 at the 11-yard line, there's a chance you might be right back to 4th and goal. There's a chance that those 3 points will make a huge difference. In this case, they did, especially with a game with the weather it had where you couldn't take a field goal at any point in the game after that because you wouldn't be able to see the freaking goalposts. I mean, you got to take that
You're
field goal.
yellow.
I was really frustrated with that decision, but yeah, I mean, I think they would have won the game with Bo Nix, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that Bo Nix does give some sort of difference here because Jared Stidham was the worst quarterback I've ever watched play football outside of maybe Max Brosmer this
CJ
season.
Stroud.
CJ Stroud in that playoff game, yeah, that was rough. But I mean, it was just a brutal loss for Denver. And take the damn points. FC just got a big one with Sean Payton not kicking that field goal in the red zone. Even with the snow, Will Lutz would have easily been able to make it. Um,
Yeah.
Now, with reflection of the Broncos, what do they need to do to make the Super Bowl next year?
This is going to be hard. You've got to try and retain as much personnel as you can, which is going to be the hard part.
Mhm.
Losing your defensive passing coordinator is a big deal considering how good the secondary is. And it really is the small things that make the difference with this team. Also, you have to really try to get as much as you can out of Bo Nix going into these next few seasons. Outside of just the injury, you know my opinion on Bo Nix. I'm just not impressed by him. I think he's a Jalen Hurts. And I don't think Jalen Hurts is that good of a quarterback, in case you were wondering my opinion on Jalen Hurts. I don't like either of these guys as quarterbacks. They're just, Bo Nix has really got issues with leaking out of the pocket under a little bit of pressure. He loves to leak right, and he loves to just do this weird thing where he runs right before he throws the ball. It's weird. I don't like it. And I think that it might come up to catch him, catch up to bite him. Sorry, whatever the saying is. But you gotta start speeding up Bo Nix's development because if this guy becomes any worse than he is, you're looking at your Super Bowl winning window closing very quickly.
Yeah, it's strange to me that Bo Nix is a quarterback of a team that's in the one seed and almost had a shot at the Super Bowl if it weren't for him being injured. That's
Yeah,
just so crazy to me to say
I
that because
know. And
Bo
I
Nix
still
does
don't
not play
think Bo Nix
well.
is a good quarterback. Like, that's the funny part. Like, it's happening, and I still just won't accept it.
But you see the Eagles win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts last year, quarterback.
Right. Exactly.
Anything can happen. Eli
Exactly.
Manning all those years ago too.
Right. I don't
Bo
think Jalen
Nix,
Hurts is elite. I never thought he was elite. I thought he won the Super Bowl.
yeah.
That's two completely different things.
I mean, Bo Nix is not the worst quarterback I've ever seen in that situation. It's obviously
No.
Jarrett Stidham or Ryan
Right.
Lindley, uh, all those years ago, but I don't know. I mean, you could do enough with them to make it to the Super Bowl. I think you just need to get at least one more wide receiver,
Yes.
personally. Cortland Sutton, Broncos are going to be fine with keeping Cortland Sutton as a wide receiver one. I think they're fine with that with mid as wide receiver
Mhm.
one, as long as Cortland Sutton's a good run blocker. And they just need to get another guy on the perimeter. That's kind of it. This roster's still very good. And I hope that they keep Davis Webb as well. Meanwhile, how do the New England Patriots keep doing this, dude? How do they keep drudging out these close games? Drake May had 86 passing yards, bro. How do they keep doing this, dude?
That defense, man. That defense is so good. It's really, really slept on. I've actually been saying this the entire playoffs. Really good defense. And not only that, but they've been generating a lot of turnovers, specifically fumbles on pass rush. It's been quite a sight to see. I love watching that defense play because they they know how to get to the quarterback and they know how to get to that ball more than anything.
Right. I think the Patriots pass rush in this game is pretty good. Outside of that, the secondary, that ball hawking safety duo is great too. And I do worry about I do wonder who the Patriots are going to select with that 31st pick, but
Mhm.
I think this might be the easiest route to the Super Bowl I've seen in a long time.
Agreed.
Like with just how bad the division. There was a tweet I should have sent you about the Patriots have played several head coaches that have gotten fired. They played Buffalo,
Yeah.
they played Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland.
Atlanta.
They played Zach Taylor. They got to play Aaron Glenn twice. They got to play Aaron Glenn and the Jets twice.
They played Atlanta and then they played Buccaneers with the guy who should have been fired also.
Right. And then they also played Carolina and New Orleans. So of course you should get 13 wins out of that maybe.
Agreed.
I obviously wasn't expected because they were 4 and 13 the past year, but
Yeah.
it still feels like it was an easy path for them to make the Super Bowl. It's just maybe good on Mike Vrabel for getting them there at
Yeah.
all. Vrabel is
I agree.
very good coach, and I'm surprised the Falcons. Very bitter the Falcons didn't decide to get him in that one. Meanwhile, another team that I'm bitter about the Falcons not interviewing, Seattle Seahawks of Mike McDonald, somehow win against the Los Angeles Rams, despite the fact this was a shootout of shootouts. Matthew
Yes.
Stafford and Sam Darnold combined for 720 passing yards and 6 touchdowns. Seattle almost blew a 31-20 lead. They hang on to win 31-27 thanks to a Puka Nakua tackle inbounds at the end of the game. This was a crazy win. I'm just shocked that Seattle was able to battle with the Rams with their offense here versus their defense just getting wins against 49ers and stuff. But what cost the Rams from winning this game?
That defense could not stop Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was perfect the entire game, which is kind of the big picture here that, I've talked about just about every single episode of this podcast is that the secondary issues are going to bite Los Angeles at some point, and this was the week. You rolled the dice too many times, and there you go. That secondary has just been not good. It's been lagging, and at some point, the offense would not be able to keep up with the opposing team's offense, and this was that time. Sam Darnold was damn near perfect.
Yeah, going back to the draft, I think that Jermon McCoy from Tennessee or Mansour Delane from LSU seems like the most obvious Rams pick at 13 in the world. They better
Yeah.
get they better get a cornerback in the draft because there's no way they're going to be bringing out Quentin Lake as their number one defensive back. Absolutely not in this house. Um, it was just crazy to me that the Rams almost gave up. The Rams almost got this lead back thanks to that taunting
Yeah.
penalty from
Yeah.
Reed
That was
Willis.
huge. And then that touchdown right after where he was caught flat-footed.
Yeah, but the Rams, unfortunately, not able to convert on that fourth down. That was a big part of it too. But does Seattle's defense only getting one sack and giving up 479 yards combined concern you uh, against New England in the Super Bowl?
Not with how New England's been playing offensively, to be honest with you. New England's just been kind of one-dimensional. It's not been my favorite team to watch offensively, obviously. This granted they've had to go through some really good defenses. But even against LA, I mean, the Chargers, that game was not it was not Drake May's best performance minus that one throw, which was beautiful to is it Kayshon Boutte
Yeah,
in
Kayshon
the end
Boutte
zone?
that
Oh
was a
yeah,
great
that
play.
was awesome. But other than that, the defense has just been or the offense has been sluggish. And I'm not 100% sure that they can bring this speed that they that would make this Seattle defense only getting one sack worrisome.
Yeah, I think that there's not that much sort of there's not really that much to take away with this defense. Matthew Stafford is the MVP QB, and the Rams' offensive line is probably the best that Seattle's played against. That's the thing. San
Yeah,
Francisco's offensive line is not as good as the Rams.
right.
So getting one sack, it seems understandable. It was a little concerning seeing the secondary in this one, but then you remember the Rams have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and Colby
Right.
Parkinson, who's shaping up to be
Yes,
one of the best tight ends in the league now.
agreed. 100%. I mean, this team has such a versatile pass attack. It's a joke. I mean, Devontae Adams is leading the league in touchdowns. Puka Nacua might as well be leading the league in receiving yards. It's pretty damn close. And Washington has just been Parkinson, sorry, is that his name?
Yeah,
It's
Colby
Colby
Parkinson.
Parkinson, sorry. Colby Parkinson has been a phenomenal tight end. Phenomenal tight end. And honestly, we've been seeing a lot of good tight ends over the last few seasons really start to pop up. But past that personnel, I think it's 13 personnel
Yeah,
that that the Rams love to run. So it definitely benefits um their tight end game a lot and their passing game a lot. But yeah, it's been such a lethal passing game.
yeah, the Rams just they seem unstoppable against Seattle, but they've been good in that way against a lot of other teams. I just found it a little bit surprising seeing that seeing the Rams really come to bat on offense when they didn't look that good against the Bears and against the Panthers.
Yeah.
But again, leave it up to Sean McVay to convince everybody. Leave it up to Sean McVay to fool everybody there. As for the losing quarterback Matthew Stafford, how many more seasons do you see Matthew Stafford playing before you think he calls it quits?
I'd say 3 more seasons. No reason to retire after this season. I mean, you're
No kidding.
gonna win the MVP. Could have won a Super Bowl this season had things gone differently.
Yeah, Stafford
You,
looked like he could play 10 more seasons with
yeah,
that loss to Seattle. He was like unconscious out there.
yeah, it's insane.
Stafford better at least Stafford, I think, better sign another contract with the Rams. That's how good he is right now.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that it would be unwise for him to to retire in 2025 or maybe even 2026. We'll see about that. But the Rams just, especially with Nate Shieldhouse coming back and Michael Floor still being there, the Rams are going to be a very good offensive team next
yes,
anyway.
yeah.
They're going to be
At
loaded
least three
for
more
a
years.
long time. That's why I didn't even pose the question of if the Rams could reach the Super and what the Rams need to do to reach the Super Bowl. Because you kind of already knew the answer. It's the defense.
Yeah, no, it's true. Which is, the thing is, you just gotta. I mean, look, there's no way this guy's retiring in like 2 or 3 years after an MVP season. You just no way. Obviously still got some left in the tank, and if you're the Rams, you're not letting a guy like that go if he had an MVP season 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, I think we've got 3 years minimum of Stafford. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's bumming out all the Georgia Bulldogs fans not being able to see Stetson Bennett. I don't think Stetson Bennett's going to start a game for the Rams, honestly.
that's funny.
That's just how good Matthew Stafford is. I don't think Georgia fans are ever going to get to see Stetson Bennett in a Rams
No,
uniform.
and Stafford just
Uh,
seems to be getting better with age.
Now on to the winners and losers of this week. Grant, who do you got as your winner?
Man, 2015 NFL fans, that would be mine. You were to tell me that the Patriots and Seahawks, if you were to tell me this 10 years ago, that the Patriots and Seahawks would be making the Super Bowl, playing each other in the Super Bowl, after the Patriots just had to play Denver, I would have been like, dude, just go ahead and shoot me. There's no way nothing's changing. But yeah, here we are again. And maybe this is cyclical, and next season we'll see an Atlanta Super Bowl. You never know.
I would not put that. I would not bet money on that at
Me
all.
neither. Me neither.
You're a loser.
My loser is anybody who's tired of watching the same few teams win. Specifically, anybody who doesn't like Boston. So the entire nation of the United States of America.
Yeah, I think New England making the Super Bowl again was probably one of the worst outcomes that could have happened for
Yeah.
parity. Now it's been Patriots and Chiefs in the AFC Championship as Super Bowl representative the past I want to say it's been the past 7 out of the 8 seasons, which is crazy to think about. Like
Yeah.
only the Bengals have surpassed either the Patriots or the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl in this time frame.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And we're
But
back.
my winner of the week is going to be Omarion Hampton. The Mike
Yeah.
McDaniel hiring by the Chargers is great, but it's going to be really good for Hampton. I think that Hampton has a Devon Achane-esque season next year.
Yeah.
He's going to be so good in that wide zone run. McDaniel's going to use him so much. And Lad McConkey would be a good winner too. I think that he's going to be kind of like a Jalen Waddle-esque. I don't think he has the ball skills
Yeah.
of Tyreek Hill personally, but watch out for the Chargers, by the way, to get a good wide receiver from this class.
Yeah.
But the loser is going to be obviously the Hall of Fame in their ballots.
Yeah.
The
I
fact that
agree.
you leave the number one coach of all time out from that ballot, it it just it just desecrates the Hall of Fame to me, and it's never going to feel the same after that. But that is it for our episode of the Gritz Blitz podcast. Be sure to check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, maybe TikTok. We'll probably get that uploaded again. Be sure to follow my X account at Owen Strikes Out. Be sure to follow Tackles and Checks. Be sure to follow my brother's social handles. You got an Instagram too as well and a TikTok. So be sure to follow us on there. And thank you guys for tuning in. Rise up.
And before we go,
What's
in
up?
the hour of us recording this segment or however long, the Ravens have hired Declan Doyle as a new offensive coordinator, and the Giants chairman and co-owner Steve Tisch is apparently connected to Jeffrey Epstein, according to the files. So there you go. Not
All
making
right,
that
that's
up.
gonna be it for the episode. Not need. Oh my God. All right. Well, well, thank you guys for tuning in though, and peace out. Rise up.
Rise up.